Hey, how's it going? My name is Gabby. Welcome back to my channel and welcome to a very exciting and fun video. And this video is going to be a book recommendation for every song on the new album Short and Sweet by Sabrina Carpenter. And this is a video that I just spontaneously decided to do because I am such a big fan of this album. If you're new to my channel, then you might not know this about me, but I've actually done a ton of videos like this for every single one of Taylor Swift's albums. So if a video like this sounds like a fun time for you and you're looking for even more recommendations, I will have all the previous times that I've done this with the Taylor Swift album linked down below. But Short and Sweet is a new album that just came out in the month of August and I have just been playing it non-stop. It is a very big obsession of mine. This is like a no-skip album to me, which is so huge and that never really happens for me. But I've been a Sabrina Carpenter fan for a little while now. I discovered her album Emails I Can't Send in like late 2022 and I feel like I've been a pretty big fan of her ever since that album. And so I just knew that Short and Sweet was going to be such a great album, but I even underestimated how much I was going to love it. And so I thought today it would be really fun for me to try and, challenge myself to think of a book recommendation for every single song. And also, if you have not yet listened to this album, Short and Sweet, I definitely think you should check it out, especially if you are a fan of just like pop music in general. If you're a fan of Taylor Swift, I do think you would love this album as well. But let's just jump right into it because I'm so excited. The first track on the album is called Taste, and I've got to say, I think this is like my #1 favorite song on this album. It's actually the newest single, and there's a music video with Jenna Ortega that is just very fun. It's one of my favorite music videos for sure. But a book that I think fits the song Taste perfectly is actually going to be Funny Story by Emily Henry. Because, this song is kind of like describing a love triangle situation, right? Where she's like, oh, I heard you're back together, and if that's true, you're just gonna taste me while he's kissing you. Because like she had him first, so like that's the whole thing with this song. And I feel like this book would actually fit it perfectly because at the start of this book, we're following this character named Daphne, and she's with this guy Peter who like right at the start of this book, he literally calls off their wedding because he wants to get back with this girl that was like his childhood crush. And then this story ends up being about how Daphne ends up getting with the guy that was that girl's fiance. So they do in fact have a very funny story about how they met each other. And I just think this book really does fit the vibe of this song so well because these characters are like so petty about it, but in a way that's just very entertaining and very valid because both of them do get invited to their ex's wedding in this book and they're like, what the heck? And they're like, well, what if we just like fake date each other and show up at the wedding as each other's +1 just to like fuck with them, like it is so the energy of this song. This is also definitely one of my favorite romance books of the year, and because Taste is like one of my favorite songs of the year, this feels like the perfect match made in heaven book recommendation. I just can't believe how great of a lyric that is when she says, if you want forever and I bet you do, just know you'll taste me too. Oh my god, like shots fire, dude. The next song on this album is Please Please Please, which this one is another one of my top favorites. This was actually the second single from this album, so there is a music video for this one as well, and the music video features her in real life boyfriend Barry Cogan, which is so crazy because I've also been a fan of Barry for so many years now because he's such a great actor. Oh my god, his acting in The Killing of a Sacred Deer, chef's kiss. But in my opinion, I think Please 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 is such an iconic song. Like I feel like it's one of those songs that feels like an instant classic to me, and a book that I think fits this song very well is Stars in Your Eyes by Case and Calendar. I heard that you're an actor, so act like a stand-up guy. In this story, this is a male-male romance where we're following two guys who are both actors. So one of them is Logan Gray, and he is Hollywood's bad boy because he has a really bad reputation, okay? And then we also follow Maddie Cole, who is like the up-and-coming golden boy. And so they decide that they're gonna fake date in order to promote the movie that they're in together because Logan does not have a good reputation, and so like the golden boy wants to date him so that they will have a better image in the public. And I just think this song fits the book so perfectly because it's not only like, I heard that you're an actor, so act like a stand-up guy. That lyric alone really fits for this book, but then also the idea of like, please, please, please don't prove them right. Because this song is talking about how like this guy seems like he's not the best match for her, right? Like that's what this whole song is about how you're like, I'm embarrassed, like please don't embarrass me, motherfucker. This is one of my favorite romance books, and I think because of the fact that they're both actors but one of them has a bad reputation, it just really makes them fit this song so freaking perfectly. I will warn you though that this book is not quite as fun and silly as the song is. Like I think the song itself is really fun, really cheeky, really cute, but this book is actually pretty dark. Like this book does have some pretty dark and heavy themes, so just know that going into it. All right, the next song is gonna be Good Graces, which this song is also so much fun to me. This song kind of sounds like it has like a 90s kind of vibe to it. I love that this song is talking about how like, when I love you, I'm sweet like an angel and like I will defend you until the day that I die die when I love you. But then like if you wrong her, she will turn her back on you so fast. And so she's saying like it's a good idea to stay in her good graces because when she loves you, she like really loves you, you know? But then she says no one's more amazing at turning loving into hatred, and then I won't give a fuck about you. And I think a book that fits this idea very well is actually Bloom by Delilah S. Dawson. I won't give a fuck about you. I won't give a fuck about you. And yes, this is a horror novella. You might be wondering, this is a horror book. But in this horror book, we're following this relationship between these two women named Rosemary and Ash. And I think this song in particular just like fits these characters very well. Because like, yeah, when they're in love and when they're happy, it's all sunshine and rainbows and like amazing. But if you turn your back on this girl, like holy shit, you don't even want to know what you've caused. And like, I won't give a fuck about you is putting it lightly. You know, like that is an understatement. I also feel like, you know, I just recently read A Certain Hunger, and I feel like in a way this could apply to this book as well. Because with this book, it's like you should stay in my good graces because if you don't, there's a high chance that she'll eat you. Quite literally. You know, like this book is about a cannibal. So I also think this song could apply to this if we're going in an even darker direction. Alright, the next song on this album is Sharpest Tool, which this one is actually produced by Jack Antonoff, and I don't know if you can tell. I feel like I can definitely tell. And in my opinion, this song is just a lot about miscommunication, you know? This song is just about people who are not properly communicating how they feel to each other. She says, we were going right and then you took a left. Lying to yourself, if you think you're fine, you're confused and I'm upset, but we never talk about it. Like that's what the lyrics are about, right? Like it's just people who are miscommunicating with each other all the time. And I think Happy Place by Emily Henry would be the perfect book recommendation for this. We never talk about it. Because in this book, we're following these two characters, Harriet and Wynne, who they were together, and if I'm remembering correctly, they were engaged, but now it's been 5 months since they've broken up, but they haven't told any of their friends about it. And so their friends are hosting this like huge weekend getaway. I think it involves like one of their friends getting married. I can't remember exactly, but like they don't want to like ruin the weekend by telling their friends that they aren't actually together anymore. So they decide that for this weekend that they're out with their friends, they're gonna pretend to still be fiancés because they don't want to make things awkward. But it's like they just never talk to each other. They don't communicate very well. And I just feel like these characters would relate to this song so much. You know, the funny thing too is I usually hate miscommunication in romance books. It's usually one of the things that like irks me the most. This is one of the only books that I can confidently say that I really enjoyed this, even though there was a lot of miscommunication in this book. I still had a really great time with this book, and even though it's not one of my top favorites from Emily Henry, it was still 5 stars for me, so that's saying something. All right, the next song on this album is called Coincidence, which this is another one that has been growing on me so much. I wasn't sure how I felt about it after the first listen or two, but this song, oh my god, it really grows on you. And this song is kind of like about a guy going back to his ex-girlfriend and lying about it. Too Good to Be True by Carola Lovering. I mean, some of the lyrics that remind me of this book is when she says she knew she's got a real sixth sense, and now she's in the same damn city in the same damn night. She says, now you've lost all your common sense, what a coincidence. And about a girl who's like trying to turn the past into the present tense. I love that line, by the way. I think it's so great. But Too Good to Be True is actually like a thriller book from Carola Lovering. I think Carola Lovering, she's kind of well known for having these thrillers that feel more like drama and like romance at times. Like there's oftentimes like love triangles or like romantic situations in her thrillers. And this is one that I actually did end up enjoying. Like Too Good to Be True is a book that I really liked. I think I gave this like 3.5 stars. But there is a really messy kind of like love triangle situation happening in this book. And this book also has chapters that like take place in the past and then also the present day. Another book that I thought I could mention here for this song as well is the book Luster, which is like one of my favorite books, by the way. I think Luster is just so beautifully written, and I think it could kind of work for this song because this book is told from the perspective of a woman who gets involved with a married couple, but the married couple is in an open marriage, but it still is really messy, and like there's some situations where like he's not being totally truthful with her. And so I just feel like the vibes of this album just in general do really match this book very well, so I thought I would include this book as a recommendation for this song too. All right, the next song on this album is Bed Chem, which this is another one of my top favorite songs on the album. Oh my god, this song just has such a great flow to it. And I also feel like this song really shows off, you know, Sabrina Carpenter's personality. You know, like I feel like as a songwriter, that's something where she really shines for me, is that she kind of has these like quirky, kind of like cute, silly lyrics sometimes. And this song, if you couldn't guess from the title, if you haven't heard it, it's just about having really good chemistry in bed, okay? It's bed chem. And a book that I think fits this song very well is gonna be Birthday Girl by Penelope Douglas.
Said you're not in my time zone, but you wanna be.
Definitely the most forbidden romance I think that I've ever enjoyed, and it's probably one of the more smutty romances that I've actually really loved. And if you don't know this book or what it's about, we're following this young girl named Jordan. I believe she's like 19 years old in this book, and this is a book about how she's getting romantically involved with her boyfriend's dad. Yeah. You heard that right, you did. I know that it sounds like, oh, or like cringe maybe when you hear the premise, but just give it a shot, you know what I'm saying? Like, you never know. There's just something about the way that this book is written. Oh my god, it is so forbidden. It is so steamy. It's one of my favorite forbidden romances of all time because I really do love the chemistry between Jordan and this guy Pike that's like her boyfriend's dad. Oh my god. But it's also the kind of situation where like her boyfriend in this book, he's so dumb and young and naive and just stupid, and his dad is just such a like great guy, you know? So it's like it's hard not to root for them. Like, you can clearly see that the stars are aligning here. Even though it's a very taboo situation, I just really enjoyed this, and I do think that they have some of the best bed chem that I've ever read in a book. I think if you're the type of reader who enjoys a good, fun time in a smutty romance, then I think you should check this one out. I think this one was great. I actually want to reread this book. I got my mom and my sister to read this book, by the way. They both loved it, which is so surprising. All right, the next song on this album is Espresso, which this song is so fun. This was the lead single on this album, and I think that that was like the best choice because I do think this is one of the strongest songs on this album. I think the song Espresso for me is such a fun summer song. Like, it just really is like that bitch, you know, like Espresso is that bitch. And the book that I chose for this, I don't know if this is gonna make sense. Unless you've read the book, then maybe you'll be like, yeah, that checks out. Because the song Espresso, it definitely serves and you know who else serves? It's Evelyn Hugo.
Thinking about me every night. Oh, isn't that sweet? I guess so.
Because like, okay, this song is just so sassy, okay? Thinking about me every night, isn't that sweet? I guess so. It's like, I don't really care. Like, I'm not really trying to attract the attention of men. Like, it just happens. Like, I'm not trying to do anything. It just happens. It comes to me. Isn't that sweet? I guess. This song is just so, oh my god, this song is so diva, right? Like, this song is her diva moment. Like, with the lyrics, like, I can't relate to desperation. My give-a-fucks are on vacation. Like, she doesn't give a fuck, okay? She doesn't actually give a fuck. And I just love that. I feel like Evelyn's character would relate to this. I know this song talks about, like, I'm working late because I'm a singer. And he looks so cute wrapped around my finger. And I feel like that's something Evelyn could relate to as well. I mean, even though she's not a singer in this book, she is an actress. She is a Hollywood iconic actress in this book. And you know, she's been known to have 7 husbands, so she definitely has those men wrapped around her finger, you could say. But also, if you read this book, then it's like, you know that Evelyn doesn't really give a shit about these men, you know? Like, she doesn't. And that's why I feel like this book would fit this song so perfectly. I don't know, let me know all of your thoughts. I think Evelyn Hugo would love the song Espresso. I think she'd be so into it. All right, the next song on this album is Dumb and Poetic, which honestly, this song is kind of hilarious. The song reminds me of like any guy that you've ever known that's like generally pretty dumb, but he thinks that he's being very deep and poetic when he like has some great realization about something. I love the lyrics in this song about like, just because you talk like one doesn't make you a man. Ooh, that is some shots fired right there. Sabrina went for him. I think a book that actually does fit this song pretty well is Margot's Got Money Troubles, which is a book that I actually recently just read earlier this summer. I think this book does fit this song pretty well because right at the start of this book, you know, we're following this young girl, Margot. She's in college and she gets with her professor who ends up accidentally knocking her up, and then he kind of like ghosts her, wants nothing to do with her, and Margot's got money troubles because she's trying to figure out how to be a single mother and raise her newborn baby. And I feel like this song could perfectly describe her relationship with this man, like the professor that she was with, because I feel like this song is directly speaking about these types of men who they want to come across as like well-spoken and academic and smart and just like better than everyone else, but then when it comes down to it, they're actually like a piece of shit and they don't show up for people and they're just shitty in general. There's a line in this song where she says fuck with my head like it's some kind of fetish. And I feel like, oh, that is such a good line. That is such a great line. I think another book that would actually fit this song perfectly too is My Dark Vanessa. This is another story about like a young girl who gets gaslit by her teacher, this man. I can't remember exactly how old she is in My Dark Vanessa, but I feel like this is another one of those situations where it's like there's this man who's dumb and poetic, you know? Like he tries too hard, he gaslights her into being with him. So I feel like both of these books definitely have that in common. All right, the next song on this album is Slim Pickins, which this one is so cute. This one kind of sounds sounds like Dolly Parton inspired or something. I think the main message of this song is that like there's not a lot of options out there for dating, and they have, you know, she's got slim pickings. There's only so many she can choose from because all of the good guys are either dead or taken. But a book that I do think actually does fit this song pretty well is The Wedding People. I mean, if you just think about like the opening line of this song, how she says, "Guess I'll end this life alone. I am not dramatic. These are just the thoughts that pass right through me." I feel like that just alone fits this book very well, because right at the start of this book, we're following this character named Phoebe, and her husband have recently separated, and she's going on this journey alone to this like resort that's in Rhode Island, and she's just having a really hard time in her life and thinking about how she's probably gonna die alone and how that's a really sad feeling. And I also love the line of like, "If I can't have the one I love, I guess it's you that I'll be kissing," because there is a bit of a romance explored in this book, and I do think that her character would assume this is like slim pickings, you know, like this is just what's in front of her. This is just the guy that's been presented to her. It's not necessarily somebody that she would go out and choose. So I do think that this song does fit The Wedding People pretty well, but I also feel like there's something about this song that kind of feels like it has the vibes of like a young adult book, or like the perspective of a young adult in this. So for those reasons, I do think I would also recommend the book I'll Meet You There by Heather Demetrios, which this is a young adult book that I read a number of years ago now, but it's one that I remember really enjoying. I think I gave it like 4 or 4.5 stars, and it's about this young girl living in this small town, and there is like a small town romance happening in this book between these two teenagers, and it really does feel like slim pickings. I don't know, this song just in general gives me such like small town young adult romance vibes, and so I do think this book would be a good pick for this song as well. All right, the next song on this album is Juno, which this is another one of my top favorites. Like, I love this song. I think it is so freaking cute. Like, yeah, it's a little bit cheesy with the lyrics, but I think it's intentionally so. I just think she wrote this in such a smart and funny way, and I just adore this song. Like, I love it so much. And a book that I think fits this song so perfect is actually Savor It by Tara DeWitt, which this is a romance that I read earlier this summer as well that I really loved.
If you left me right then, who knows?
I actually ended up just lending this book to my mom because I was like, you need to read this. It is so cute. This book has been described as The Bear meets Schitt's Creek, which I think is 100% accurate because it takes place in this like very small cozy town in the Pacific Northwest that definitely feels like a Schitt's Creek kind of vibe. But then it also feels like The Bear because the guy in this book, he's actually a chef, but he's also a single father. And so I think that's part of the reason why I think this book would fit this song perfectly, because, you know, so much of this song is talking about like kind of wanting to have his children, you know, like wanting to have his babies. I mean, saying, "If you love me right, then who knows, I might let you make me Juno." Like, that's definitely a reference to the movie, right? Juno, about the teenage pregnancy, which I think is so funny. I think it's so hilarious that she referenced the movie Juno in this song, but I think it's cute, you know, because in this book, he does have a daughter and he is a single father. I love in the lyrics the way she says, "You make me want to make you fall in love." I love the like twist on words there. It's not like you make me want to fall in love with you. It's like you make me want to make you fall in love with me. And I also love the lyric, oh my god, when she says, "One of me is cute, but two though." Dude, that is so cute. Like, I don't even want children, but I find that lyric to be so adorable. Like, that is so cute. I feel like this is one of those books that has it all. You know, it's a rom-com, but there's some really good drama in this book. I think the third act conflict in this book feels very real, and it's just so well done. Like, I feel like this book was genuinely so funny and just such an entertaining read. And these two had the best chemistry. Oh my god, like the steamy scenes in this book were actually good. And I'm the kind of reader who, like, these days, I'll oftentimes just like, skim read the steamy scenes because like I don't really care as much, but this one had me like giggling, it had me giddy and shit. Like, I thought they were so cute. All right, the next song is gonna be Lie to Girls, and this song makes me so sad because it's talking about how like the main lyric is saying you don't have to lie to girls because if they like you, they'll just lie to themselves. And I feel like that's such a true thing, and it's honestly really sad and like really heartbreaking to think about. But I think a book that does fit this song pretty perfectly is actually Tell Me Lies by Carola Lovering. I mean, come on, lies is like in the title of the book and the song. And even though I personally hated this book, I gave this book 1 star, but I do think it fits the lyrics of this song very well because, you know, we have another Carola Lovering. As I said, she's kind of an author that she writes these thrillers that have these like messy relationships in them sometimes. And in this book, we're following this guy named Steven, who is like the biggest piece of shit of all time. And he just treats Lucy like absolute shit in this book. And it was very annoying to read this at times. So I was not the biggest fan of this book personally. But then another book that I thought I would recommend, because since this book is 1 star, I wouldn't necessarily recommend reading this. So a book that I would recommend, but this is going to be so random, is The Eyes Are the Best Part by Monica Kim, which you might be wondering, why would you recommend such a weird, gross horror book for this song. The thing that reminds me of this song in this book is specifically the relationship that's happening with this character's mom. In this story, we're following this young Korean girl who's living in America with her family, and right at the start of this book, their father like leaves their family and abandons them. And it kind of shows how like sad and like desperate her mom gets after their dad leaves. And you know, she keeps telling them to like eat the eyes of the fish because the eyes are supposed to bring good luck when you eat the eyes of the fish, and she like desperately feels like she needs good luck in her life again. She ends up meeting this white guy named George, who is like the biggest walking red flag of all time. She like tells herself that this is going to be good for her and her family because she feels like she like needs a man. She feels like they need a role model. Like they need somebody in their lives. And it just perfectly captures this song. Like, you don't have to lie to girls because if they like you, they'll just lie to themselves and try to convince themselves that this is a good situation even when it's not. And so she'd rather be with a man who's incredibly shitty than be alone. And I think that that's really sad. But I also think that this book is incredible. It's a 5-star for me, one of my favorite horror books that I've read this year, but just be warned that it is gross. There's lots of creepy eyeball horror. So if you're not into that, then I wouldn't recommend it. But if you're into it, then I do recommend that you read this. All right, and then the last song on this album is Don't Smile, which Don't Smile is probably in my top 3 favorites on this album. I think it is such a freaking vibe. I don't know what it is about this song. It is nothing but vibes. I love the play on lyrics here where she kind of like takes that common phrase and like spins it around, where she says, don't smile because it happened, baby, cry because it's over. You know, because oftentimes people will be like, oh, well, don't be sad, it's over, smile because it happened. Like, no. In a book that I actually think fits this song so perfectly, but you might like side eye me and be like, what are you talking about, is The Haunting of Velkwood. Okay, yes, this is another horror book, you're not wrong. But this horror book also has a sapphic romance happening at the center of this story that I feel like these lyrics, oh my god, it just captures this couple so well. This book is so hard for me to explain, but it basically follows these two girls who both grew up on the same street, and now the street that they grew up on is haunted and nobody can get in there because there's this weird bubble, like dome-like thing around the street they grew up on. We're talking Under the Dome Stephen King vibes, or even like WandaVision, like that's the kind of vibe. But these two girls kind of had this like will they, won't they thing. They've had this thing for each other all these years, but now like it's been years since they've last talked to each other, and now they're both going to be coming back to the street that they grew up on because they're going to be trying to make things right and trying to figure out the truth about what's all this unknown that's happening on their street. And like, dude, the tension between these two girls in this book, oh my god, are you kidding me? Like, they were so cute. Like, I would read an entire romance book just dedicated to these two characters because of how much I love them as characters, but I was also very invested in their romance with each other. And the whole like moodiness of the song of like, my heart is heavy now, it's like 100 pounds, and the I want you to miss me, that line specifically, I want you to miss me, oh my god, that is so them. And I think the line just like, don't smile because it happened, baby, cry because it's over, I feel like that's so these characters. I don't know, the whole moodiness and the whole vibe of this song just really feels like it matches this book. For me personally, I can see it. And so yes, it might seem a little bit random for me to recommend a horror book for this song, but trust me, if you read it, I think you'll understand, and I think that you'll agree. All right, so those are all of the different book recommendations that I have for every single song on Short and Sweet by Sabrina Carpenter. I know this video is kind of like random from me, so I hope that you ended up enjoying it. Would love to know if you have, you know, listened to Short and Sweet, or if you are a Sabrina Carpenter fan, let me know what are your top favorite songs on this album, and what are your favorite albums from Sabrina Carpenter. I think this is definitely my favorite album from her so far, even though I will admit that I'm a little bit less familiar with her earlier stuff before Emails I Can't Send, so I'll definitely have to do a deep dive into some of her backlist. But I think from this album, I think my top favorites are Taste, Juno, and Don't Smile, and then Sharpest Tool is like right there, and then Chem. Like, oh my gosh, there's so many good ones, it's honestly hard to choose. I also am still really obsessed with Espresso and Please Please Please. Like, how do I not pick those in my top 3? Like, I don't know. So definitely let me know all of your thoughts, and let me know if you have any other books that you would think would be perfect book recommendations for any of these songs, because I would love to know. Thank you so much for watching as always, and I'll see you very soon with another video. Bye.
I'm just kidding, but really, really, get back together. And if that's true about you, I won't give a fuck about you. Come right on me, I mean camaraderie. I might let you make me Juno. You're confused and I'm not sad, but where art thou? Why not upon with me? One of these cute, but too long. You've lost all your common sense. I can't relate to desperation. My heart is heavy now. It's like 100 pounds. Whatever devil's inside you, don't let him out tonight. So fast, cause no one's more amazing. reason. Face down, seems like overnight I'm just a bitch you hate now. But I bet we'd have really good back. Ever tried this one? Might give a fuck. Or on vacation, you make me wanna make you fall in love. I know I've been known to share. I beg you don't embarrass me, motherfucker. Cry because it's over. Isn't that sweet? I guess so.